Sur cette table ronde technologie, gouvernance et application digitale, j'appelle à présent Madame Armelle Guerin, vice-présidente software et applications de Renault Nissan Inde, qui n'est autre que le plus grand technocentre au monde du groupe. Venez, Madame, me rejoindre. Monsieur Christophe Mariette, président Lyra India, acteur majeur de l'univers du paiement, que ce soit pour les banques, les entreprises ou les chargés de la maintenance. La digitalisation de l'économie et de la finance, c'est aussi Lyra. Madame Radhika Yuvraj, directrice Inde de Women in Tech et directrice Business et Data Analytics chez Credera, société de conseil qui accompagne les entreprises dans leur transformation technologique, telle que l'intelligence artificielle notamment. Et la table ronde sera modérée par Ashish Saraf, vice-président et directeur Inde de Thales Technology Partner du forum APAC. Merci beaucoup, monsieur, de nous rejoindre.
Check. So, a very good morning to all of you. This has been such a lovely address by Mr. Sharma, pioneering the entire UPI technology, and obviously we have all seen the immense benefits that is brought to India. You know, basically one of the things that I see is that it just resulted in bringing the entire informal economy and kind of making it formal. To an extent that we were able to open over 300 million bank accounts in the last 5 years. So how substantial can that get, right? It's my absolute pleasure to welcome you to this panel. The theme of this panel is Technologies and Futures of Asia. And we have an esteemed panel with us who will be able to contribute a lot to what's ongoing, throw some light on what is ongoing, what are the opportunities, what are the challenges, and what's forthcoming. So we will touch upon that this morning, and there is going to be obviously an immense amount of knowledge and insights that we are all about to get from our panel. So let me start by introducing the panel. Armelle, who was just introduced, but she's a Vice President of Software and ADAS at Renault Nissan Technologies and Business Center in India, bringing an amazing experience in mobility, IT, and autonomous vehicles. Basically, Renault Nissan Technologies, GCC, having 10,000 plus tech and development engineers in India. So a substantial GCC or the engineering capability that's been developed here. So we look forward to having her insights on various topics. Radhika Yuvraj, a staunch proponent of women in tech and also director of analytics at Credera, a consulting firm. Christophe Mariette, co-founder and chairman at Lyra India, leads a very exciting project of taking UPI across the boundaries of India into France. So something very exciting that was also announced by Prime Minister Modi and President Macron when Prime Minister Modi was visiting Paris during the July 14th parade. And finally, Mr. Sharad Sharma, he needs no introduction, co-founder of iSPIRT Foundation, that has conceptualized India Stack, Health Stack, and other digital public goods. He also co-founder Teltier Technologies, a wireless infrastructure startup. Angel investor, is also instrumental in the success of India's first IP-focused fund. member of the National Startup Advisory Council, SEBI's Financial and Regulatory Technology Committee, and so on and so forth. So thank you very much for the panelists. Welcome again. And what I would like to do is maybe request all of you to do a quick opening statement on your views on the technologies and futures of Asia, and then we'll kind of go into a moderated discussion on, their expertise, their capabilities, and then open this forum for a few Q&A before we conclude it. So that's kind of the format we want to follow there. So let's start with Armelle.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ashish. I think I want to start with something you said earlier, Sharma. And you say you had a lot of anger. And Renault Nissan, we create part of this anger because we are one of the 1,700 GCC, Global Competency Center in India. So yes, we came here because there's a lot of talent in India, and we have built more than 11,000 now engineers, software developer in the southern India, in Chennai, Hyderabad, and Bangalore. We are developing and we are integrated in all the different products and services of Renault and Nissan in the world. More than 94% of our activities for outside of India, so we are exporting from India. And we are as well very proud to develop product for Indian market. So maybe what I want to say before we really start to talk about technology, what I think is very important for me as an employer, because here we really have this chance to live in a very, and we have discussed that a lot, a diverse world where the fabric of this society is so diverse that this is a huge strength when we recruit, when we are able to have people who are very adaptable, people who are really in a level of creativity that I haven't seen in other parts of the world where I have worked. Another aspect which is very important is we have said here people are tech native, which means anything related to digitalization, AI, is an adoption at the speed of the light. We can do that very, very fast. And I came here 3 years ago. I had a team of 250 people to start doing software development for Renault. And today we are 750. It will continue to grow because we really know that we have the talent here, and we are developing as well for India. So this is really a second part. A third part for people who are looking to really have a base here and tap into the talent of India is all this aspect of sustainability or inclusive growth. So I'm very happy that I am in the same panel to talk about UPI, because this is something that is really existing here. We are really looking at the community we are working with, and we want to transform India. And I think in the technology that you will see coming from India, and now we are very much involved in AI, and I will discuss later about what we're doing for automotive, we are really looking at an inclusive growth, a sustainable growth, not only for EV, very affordable EV, but as well in what we call the software-defined vehicle, which are based on AI and a lot of software, as the name said, which is a very transformation in automotive, and India is really part of the leading country working on that.
So, Radhika?
Yes, Ashish?
Opening statement, a few words before we get into the discussion.
Sure, absolutely. Bonjour, Madame, Monsieur, I hope I got it right. Namaskar, and a very good morning to everybody here. Thank you to the APAC Forum, CCE, for having me here. One of the reasons this is important is because Women in Tech Global is headquartered in France, and we had activated the India chapter last March on International Women's Day with support from the French embassy. It happened here in Delhi. Going back to why I became a part of this mission, there's a small story, a little detour from tech, Ashish, if that's okay. The French consulate in Bangalore responded to my email asking them to expedite my visa. And it was just heartwarming that they were able to help me with getting a visa in a week. So when I was given this opportunity to do this, I said, I have to give back. And I'm still in the process of giving back, not yet done it fully. So it started from there, and I volunteered to lead the India chapter of Women in Tech Global. In India, it made sense because we had many women and girls graduate in STEM studies, but there's a pretty sad, leaky pipeline. Many of them drop out from getting into tech careers, and even if they do, they're not able to make it beyond the mid-level or get into the boards. So we feel that there's a huge opportunity, this 50-50, close to 50-50% male-female ratio, and that's a skill pool we need to tap into. And we need to push women in STEM, and that's a part of our advocacy. Our mission is to empower 5 million girls and women across the globe by 2030. We are enlisted on the Edison Alliance, which is a part of the World Economic Forum. Hence, we have to report back the impact, and also have signed an MOU with the UN Women. So that's about Women in Tech Global, Women in Tech India. Within less than a year, we are about close to 1,500 members on a community portal.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Radhika. Very impressive. And next, let's go to Christophe.
Okay, hello everybody. First of all, I am very impressed to speak about digitalization and payment after Sharad Sharma, with the inventor, one of the inventor of UPI, and who has contributed a lot for the digital stack. So on my side, I will just give you my experience and how it's changing so fast in India regarding digital payment. When we arrived in India, when I have settled the company in India, it was 17 years ago. We came in India, we were the inventor of, France was the inventor of the chip for smart card. So we said we are going to bring our technology to India. So at the beginning, it was very good. And suddenly we experienced the disruption. It was in November 2016. And in one night, Indians were not able to use anymore their 500 rupees notes. And for us, it was very good, because in one night, everybody who was having a card, pay with card. So we have multiplied our volume by 10 in a few days. So it was very good because it was our business. And I think from this moment, India has boomed towards digitalization into payments. So first, when you want to bring people toward digitalization, there were a big program to open an account in bank for everybody in India. And after the scheme on card came, RuPay, and now the big scheme is UPI. So I have two questions, not three. So first of all, in India, when there is one transaction by card, how many transactions there are by UPI? 1 to 1, 1 to 10, 1 to 20, 1 to 30. So 1 to 1, 1 to 10, 1 to 20, 1 to 30. Okay, we are getting to 1 to 30. Now we are about 1 to 26. So when there is one transaction by card, you have 26 transactions by UPI. So it's really a great success. And I have another question. It's very important to have instant payment. UPI is instant payment. In Europe, we have lots of problems with instant payment because banks are not very keen to go towards instant payment because they are losing the interchange of the card. So one more question. According to you, how many instant payment transaction UPI is doing in the world? 10%? 20%? 10%? 20%? 50%? Okay, 3% are right. 50% of the real-time transaction are going through UPI. It's just,
Really?
it's just to give you how big is UPI. But I would say it's just the start. And I will talk after. There are many other disruptions which are coming. So in Lyra, okay, we are in India since 17 years, as I have said. We have 150 people in Mumbai. And contrary to many other companies, we are not offshoring our development in India. In India, the
All right.
Okay, you have seen the experience of paying with UPI. I have just one problem with this video, because every month I have to change the number, because it was written 14 billion of transaction, now it's 16.5 billion of transaction per month.
Well, it's got to change every second. Okay, thank you so much, Christophe, and thank you, Lyra. That was an amazing feat. So very quick, sir, maybe a quick intro. I mean, you spoke, but let's just get a minute from you, and then we can jump into the moderated discussion.
You know, technology is inherently a team sport, as you would know. You know, there's no individual who can ever put anything together. You need a team of peers actually to come together to make that happen. There's another kind of collaboration that is very important in technology, which I think we have to revive, which is originally all technology was a partnership between public technology and private innovation. Internet was supposed to be an example of that. Internet was public technology. All the protocols that we use, you know, which is SMTP, TCP/IP, HTTP, they were all part of the public technology on which private innovation was supposed to happen. And there was supposed to be a harmonious balance between the two. The role of public technology was to keep it open so that you didn't have monopolies that would come up. We have lost that plot in the world, right? And so therefore, it is very important that we go back to that fundamentals of original fundamentals of innovation, that innovation is public goods, private innovation. And this balance is very important. And I think India is making its own small attempt. All these are manifestations of trying to get that balance. Luckily, some of them are successful, so they give you the opportunity to do it at larger scale. But I think we have a global kind of a challenge in front of us. We talk about climate change. That's a global challenge. Another global challenge is we need to get the balance back in technology. And if we don't, it will threaten our society. It will threaten our democracy. it'll threaten our economic model that is needed to be able to lift everybody in the economy. And so it is important that we focus on that collectively to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So jumping in, and before we jump in, a little bit about us and Thales. Thales is one of the world's largest technology provider and technological firm, present mainly into aerospace, defense, cybersecurity, biometrics, payment processing, data security, and so on. We obviously, in terms of technology, deep tech, AI, anytime you enter a PIN number in India, there is a potentially an 80% chance that your payment in the background is processed by the Thales HSM. We are Asia, specifically India, is obviously starting to be at the cutting edge, pioneering technologies like AI and deep tech. And Thales is obviously at the forefront of utilizing these trends in India, having two very large research and technology centers, one in Noida, one in Bangalore, and growing into the needs to provide to our worldwide customers. We develop technologies like avionics, AI-driven optronics into defense, and so on and so forth into India. So clearly the contribution of India, Asia and specifically India, into the technological advancements is getting more and more visible and more, prevalent into the technological landscape of the world. We are contributing in everything that basically, I would say, just like Intel would say Intel inside, now we can easily say for technology, there's India inside, or the resources and the skills and the engineers that are pioneering these. They are basically driving these engines of technology across the world. And Thales is obviously no less. We are actually pioneering most of these in India and exporting it as part of our worldwide portfolio. So with that, I just want to go back to Armelle here and ask you to maybe talk about the opportunities and challenges of running a large engineering center that's basically doing all the developments and, over 10,000 engineers here. How do you see this contributing to your business, and how do you see this evolving into the future? Obviously, there's a lot of engineering work that goes into doing the engineering for the company, but then how do you see this translating into the innovation and product development for Renault Nissan?
Thank you. Clearly, as a global competency center, we started to have a lot of back office work, but it has really changed. And automotive is going through a big transformation. You may know that. And it's a major change that we are seeing as we are now becoming digital tech as well in automotive. So we are really tapping into all the talent of India in order to do that. And today, all the strategic projects developed by Renault and Nissan, we are the backbone and we are fully integrated here in India. So just to give you some example, and specifically what I am in charge here, what we call software-defined vehicle. Maybe just a little explanation. Maybe in your vehicles, we have a lot of mini computers that we call ECU, electronic computer units. They are everywhere in your car to help to have powered your window, to have your windshield and your sensor for rain, and to be able to have your entertainment, your navigation, but also to manage your powertrain, your suspension. So today we have around 50 of them, and maybe more, depending on your cars. Very complex systems developed by many different suppliers. And a few years ago, we started thinking, instead of having all these small computers in a vehicle, why not having a big one? And one will power everything. Some of our competitors, like Tesla, coming from the computer world, have already started these trends. Today, we are not thinking of one computer, but we have several by zones. but it's a big transformation as we are completely reviewing the way that we develop cars. In the past, our colleague from Powertrain were at the kingdom, and they were the king in the engineering development. Today is software. And so you understand how India is positioned in the ecosystem to help developing this new type of vehicle. And clearly in the transformation you are mentioning, Ashish, India is seen for this development of the software in the vehicle, so what we call embedded software, but we have also had all the stack up to what's happening in the cloud, all the services we are developing for the connected services. We have also, of course, in what we call a plant, connected plant, we have all the digitalization. In our world, we call that the virtual twins, where we are developing a virtual image of all our product and our services, from the design, the conception, to the manufacture, to the development, the manufacturing, and even the after sales, everything digitalized, and this is done in India. So we are transforming, we are supporting this development, but we see more and more a lot of activities that we are doing from here. In my team as well in Bangalore, we do some of the innovation, and some are specific for Indian market. And I want to say as well, the enthusiasm of our Indian engineer here, we're really understanding what is the appetence of our consumer in India, and what we are developing and demonstrating back to our corporate in France for India, also going in some cases when it makes sense to go in our European vehicle. So it's a transformation, and we are, I think, part of the engine to do this transformation for our group.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Moving to Radhika, you are a staunch promoter of women in tech. I would like you to talk about what are the opportunities for women. Okay, tech is tech, but then we are now advancing to deep tech, AI, analytics, robotics, etc. What are the opportunities for women, and what can women do to position themselves to make sure that they have a successful career in these fields? And maybe also some of your experiences being the director in a consulting firm that addresses AI, analytics, and so on. So please.
Sure. So just connecting the dots, Ashish, and because this is a French forum, if we look at the Horizon 2047 roadmap, I think last year India and France kind of have strengthened the bilateral relationship. So we are looking at partnership in security and sovereignty, and partnership for people, and partnership for the planet. Okay, so laying that out. So we then looking at sustainability, we're looking at social enterprises, social change, and of course security. So taking that forward, what are the opportunities for women? I was pleasantly or overwhelmingly surprised when during my stint as the India Director for Women in Tech, I came in contact with so many women entrepreneurs. Women we know are open, have an appetite for risk, but was surprised that they were venturing into deep tech use cases. So I would start with use case, because eventually tech is an enabler. And the Industrial Revolution 4.0 talks about AI, blockchain, quantum computing, and all of it. But then the basis of that would be computing, it would be material science renovations, it would be satellite technologies, and my favorite, nanotechnology. I had just a quick story. A decade back, I had written to the Prime Minister's office about some use cases for nanotechnology, and right now I look at it and, you know, kind of feel even a fancy thought can become a reality. Yeah. So with this, so I've met women who have embarked on let's say, creating biodegradable implants, substrates for biodegradable substrates for electronic implants. There are women who are venturing into this company called, it's called, I think, MNT Flex, which are utilizing imaging and drone technology for monitoring construction of buildings so that there's no physical need and the quality check is much more elevated. Then there are women venturing to VR technology for mental health therapy. So amazing use cases and amazing ways to get into deep tech. But what we may need is also strengthening our collaboration with colleges, universities, and research institutes, because when it's deep tech, it's got to be based out of deep research and knowledge. So if we can provide that opportunities, and I believe there are so many forums like us, for example, we're bringing all of this together. So we're creating communities where if you have the capital, if you have the need, we're bringing in thought leaders, we're bringing in, let's say, very compelling and impactful case studies for them to know more about and venture. So there's a lot of support. There are platforms to support you, even with VCs. And this is an opportune time for women to get into deep tech. To your second question on my role at work, yes, again, very optimistic. There's so many girls in my team who come with design thinking. This is probably not the stereotype that people usually tend to have of women, that they're in managerial positions or testing, and they come with a lot of design thinking and engineering mindset. And I think we need to just keep nudging them and encouraging them and tap into that potential. So Armelle here, just one request. So as you're looking at your consumers, right? So maybe 30% of women who are driving the Renault, and looking at the psychographic, you could create something like just adjusting the seat. Typically people leave the seats in the position, but then for the women, you like it in a certain. So anything that can tap into what are the needs of women and how your women engineers can be a part of your team to get to the product design, can be a great way to kind of take it forward.
Thank you, Radhika. And you can see that today's panel is a perfectly gender-balanced panel in technology. So, Mr. Sharma, moving forward, right? You spoke about a need for collaboration, cross-country, cross-border collaboration, in fact, even cross-continental collaboration in technology. Are we in an era of technological Cold War? And we obviously see a lot of centers of excellence or countries of excellence popping up, United States being one, we have China, India is fast emerging. France has just declared that they would like Paris to be the center of AI specifically, and the government of France has actually rolled out a lot of incentives for companies to kind of do work in this segment. So what does this mean for Asia, India, and potentially Europe?
One thing which has become clear in the last 10, 15 years, largely because of social media, is that technology and culture are deeply intertwined with each other, right? So we got to take that into account. Let's take AI as an example. I won't ask you another question, you'll get bored, but India has 23 million babies that are born every year. The next biggest country is China, that's 9 million, then Nigeria. In fact, if you take the China plus 4 other countries, they just about total 23 million. So India has as many babies being born as the next 5 countries put together. So India is the cradle for humanity, you could say. Now, India also has the largest number of children under 15-year-old. Now, these children, when they live in the world of AI can lift them. It can help them learn better. It can help them be healthier. It can help them realize their full potential. But AI can also lead to AI-based pornography, AI-based gambling, AI-based gaming, which can lead to, lost lives, lost opportunities. So there is a need for us to think about AI safety for children, different from the way we think about AI safety for grown-ups. Yes, that's, I think, not a problem. Now, when you think of AI safety for children, it essentially means that you take some of the agency away from the children and give it to somebody else. If you are in China, you'll give it to the state. Currently in the US, the thought is to give it to the teachers. In India, the only tenable solution culturally is to give it to the parents, right? Now, so now you have 3 different models of AI safety that have emerged. And therefore, you will now find, perhaps in Europe, there may be one country that likes this model versus that model. Somebody may say, I would rather prefer if I give it to the teachers. I'm guessing it will be Northern Europe. But if I go to Italy today, they may well say, because of the party in power, that I'll give it to the parents, right? So, you see, these are now choices that have to be made. Technology is not divorced from culture. Culture is now becoming the basis for statehood. See, the reason, you know, in India, we have to understand this very well, because in India, our main exposure has been to UK. Now, UK is not a civilizational state. Many of us call UK the mercantilist state, state of convenience. You know, the Scottish may leave UK and become part of EU, you know, it's a distinct possibility. France is a civilizational state. All of you who are French people are French first. You don't care which party is in power. Your Frenchness defines your identity. And that's a cultural identity. Your borders of France have changed, but the Frenchness remains. Now, this is happening in many places. India, the political divide in India is between one party seeing India as a civilizational state, and the other party seeing India merely as a constitutional state. So this is going to manifest in technology as well. And so I think what will happen is that you'll have pockets of technology. And of course, the fact of the matter is that technology, whoever is a producer of technology, contributes to the state power. Because military power comes from technology today, it doesn't come from people. Economic power is technology. If you take the top 10 most valuable companies in the US, 9 of those 10 are technology companies. And in India, our biggest lament is that if you take the top 20 most valuable companies in India, no, not one of them is yet a technology company, right? They're all into services and they're consumers of technology, not producers of technology. I think in the next 10, 15 years that will change. But as you change that, we got to be aware of what we do with our culture. So this interaction between technology and culture is going to be a very important part. We cannot leave it. Our internet has taught us that we cannot just let it happen. We have to guide this process. Because if it just let it happen, bad outcomes result. So therefore, that's going to be one of the public discourses. I think India will have, France will have, many other countries will have as we go forward.
Thank you. Coming to Christophe, what are the challenges you see taking a technology like UPI beyond the borders of India? Lyra is obviously pioneering some of these, taking to France, but infrastructural challenges, adoption, there are some fundamental changes that you had to make. There probably needs to be a national infrastructure, regulatory. How do you see these shaping up, and how do you see these aligning as UPI crosses the boundaries of India?
Okay, Ashish. I think UPI has been a great success in India because it was free for the buyer, free for the seller, and also the acceptance material needed to do a digital transaction was very cheap. You just need a QR code on your shop to display it, and maybe with what we call a sound box. So it's a loudspeaker which is saying that the transaction has been done. So for 10 euros, you have a product to accept digital transaction. Of course, in Europe, you can do this kind of things in a shop. So the main problem that we had when we brought UPI, for example, in France, was first to convince our merchant. In France, about 1/3 of all the websites for payment are going through us. But when we told to the merchant, okay, why not accepting UPI? In fact, they were facing two problems. The first one, that today, Indian tourism is growing, but it's not still a big nation of tourists. It's about 1 million of people per year who are coming in France. And it's much more difficult for merchants to recognize, for example, he's an Indian person than he is a Chinese person, because he will speak most of the time good English. So he's coming from Asia, but you don't know that he's coming from India. The second fact was to display this QR code. So for example, on a website, it's easy because you can display it, you can make a link, but in a shop, it's much more difficult because you need something to display a dynamic QR code. So that means that in the dynamic QR code, you have the amount. And today, the problem that we had was how to display it. So for example, in Galeries Lafayette, we have been able to display it on every cashier, but now we have to display it on POS. And today, it does not exist. So we have to change the technology. And also, I'm not speaking about the next disruption for our business. With the public infrastructure, India is doing a great program about open network for digital commerce. So for example, today, when you want to get a cab, you have to go to a platform. Here, for example, Uber or Ola, and the platform is taking 20–30% of the fees. And with ONDC, it will connect directly the merchant to the seller. No fees for the platform. And I think this will be the next disruption for commerce. So I think platform will have to change their model. Some platform came to this model because they know that it will change. For example, if you are in Bangalore, you have Yamni Natra, okay, this platform for booking a taxi, which has implemented it. So this will be the next disruption, and this disruption is thanks, and I'm coming back to what Sharma, Mr. Sharma told, thanks to Aadhaar. Because for doing that, you need a sphere of confidence. And in France and in Europe, our big problem is that we don't have this digital identity. Because what is doing the platform? The platform is bringing the confidence, as a bank can bring the confidence, but you need somebody to bring the confidence. And with the digital identity, you have the confidence. And if we have to do something to do in Europe, is to bring digital identity. And I think the model which has been done in India is quite interesting.
Can I add to that, if you are okay? I can tell you a story. In 2017, so India uses EVMs for elections. EVMs are electronic voting machines. They work reasonably well. Bangladesh came to India in 2017, signed an agreement to use EVMs for their own elections. Everything looked good. They went back to Dhaka. They announced it. When they announced it, all hell broke loose. Because in Dhaka, they said, hey, we don't trust the Indian EVMs. You know, there must be a backdoor. You know, if we are good friends with India, then our election will go well. But if we're not good friends with India, they'll control the election from the backdoor, right? So they had to cancel the contract because the public opposition was so high. And at that time, we were thinking about Aadhaar, digital identity. So we asked ourselves a question. We said, if we take our Aadhaar somewhere else, can we convince them that this is not weaponizable? Right? And the answer to that was no. So we rebuilt Aadhaar in India. It's called MOSIP, you know that. It's called MOSIP.io. We have 23 countries signed up, 947 million people. It includes, of course, Sri Lanka, Philippines, Ethiopia, which is part of the Commonwealth. And we have actually our first country of MOSIP was a Francophone country, was Morocco. And, one of our biggest champions of MOSIP, so much so, I've never been to Morocco, but they were kind enough to give me honorary citizenship in Bangalore. I have to go there now, but because they're so happy with what happened there. Now, why are they happy? Because it is not weaponizable. Now, in UPI, we said we don't need to build this again. We can make it non-weaponizable without building this all over again. But sadly, we are not able to convince enough people that it is non-weaponizable. So Brazil came to us and said, hey, we want UPI, but it has to be non-weaponizable. We said, okay, this is how we'll make it non-weaponizable. They were not convinced, so they built their own UPI. PIX is doing very well. We have South Africa today, which is not convinced by our way to make UPI non-weaponizable. So they're building it all over again. So we've learned actually from UPI. UPI is very successful because it's not weaponizable in India by the government against Indians. But there is another thing that we had to think about was to make it non-weaponizable for other countries. We have done a poor job of that, I must tell you. I mean, I can say this, others are reluctant to say this. So we have learned from that. So we have now doubled down and made our data infrastructure, which is called DEPA, Data Empowerment and Protection Architecture, truly non-weaponizable. And it is that data infrastructure that powers AI everywhere in the world. Because whoever has continental data sets will have AI. And you know it, I know it, AI is weaponizable. So if we need non-weaponizable versions of AI, we need to create non-weaponizable versions of the data economy. And so this is going to be an interesting journey for the next 5-10 years. So I think what I want to leave with you is this idea, basically to summarize, that look, while technology is collaborative, it has these fault lines. It has these fault lines based on power, and therefore it has these fault lines based on weaponizability. And therefore, for us who are designers of new technology, we have this public imperative to do it in a way that it is not weaponizable by state or by company against your own citizens. That's one goal to meet. The second goal to meet is not weaponizable in an international context as well. And that requires new design thinking, as you mentioned, right? And that design thinking is available to everybody, and I'm hoping more and more countries will take it up as we go forward.
Thank you. So I think in the interest of time, we are kind of coming to the close of the session. What we can do is take about 5 minutes or so to open this session for Q&A and take our first question.
Erwan de Kerotem, I run a software company in France on multilingual video processing. Mr. Sharma, I leave India after a month on Monday. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because in France and in Europe, we missed this people-oriented digitalization. And I have many, I would love to talk with you later on. I won't take the microphone too long. I have one question, just one, I pick up one. My CTO told me 3 weeks ago, if I go to OpenAI, I will be paid around $1 million. I was in Bengaluru last week for the BTS Tech Summit. The last guest on stage was promoting this Silicon Valley model where money is pouring. We celebrate in France that we welcome Amazon, Google, and so on, with corrupting the mindset of the coders. So I leave India with an hope that Europe can be inspired, and how do we do to compete with the deep, deep, deep pockets of our competitors?
You know, I don't worry about deep pockets. I think it's a commitment. See, competence is bigger than money. But when you combine competence and passion, it is certainly bigger than money, right? You know, this is our lived experience. And, you know, with UPI, we had enormous opposition from Visa and MasterCard on UPI. You know, we've had opposition on everything. So I think why I am kind of elevating this to a little bit, I genuinely believe there is a need for collaboration between, I could say Europe, but in Europe, I think it is France. And I'll give you my bias, why it is France. You know, you go to an Indian and you talk, you scratch the surface and you will see some spiritualism, not religion, but spiritualism, yoga, or some spiritual thinking coming out from them. Is that fair? You deal with a lot of Indians. My experience is that you scratch a French person and you see a philosopher coming out. Right? This is my lived experience. Right? I think your culture is deeply entwined with philosophy. You teach it in your schools, every person is knowledgeable about it, and we have to bring philosophy into technology. And if we can do this together, I think we have a chance of creating a better future for our children as we go forward. Does that answer your question?
Just adding to that, and if I may, I think anytime it's done for social good, money kind of takes a backseat. So UPI, Aadhaar is a classic example where I don't think it was really thought about for a commercial good. It was always thought about for social good, where people would kind of transact free of cost, access other services related to it, and that would just plainly make their lives easy. And certainly comes a product that's been, you know, probably from a scale-wise, the biggest in the world in terms of Aadhaar and UPI.
I'm taking too much time, but I want to leave this thought with you. All iSpiriters are no greed, no glory, and give everything away. Right? So this gives us power to change the ecosystem. If we were greedy, we won't be able to do it. If we sought glory, we won't be able to do it. And if we didn't get away, then also we won't be able to do it. So there is power in doing it the right way, and I think we can all come together to make a new world happen. Yes. You get political support because you're giving them the glory. See, honestly, politicians need glory. Market players need greed. So our power comes because we give the greed to the market players, the phone pays and other UPI market players, and we give the glory to the politicians, which is why our work has transcended two political parties, because both political parties want glory. If you give them glory, they'll be with you. So that's the secret.
Another question. We have another question here.
Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Megha Khetarpal and I'm a fraud prevention global head at TransUnion, of course a Women in Tech member. But more than that, I'm a mother of a 10-year-old girl. So when you spoke about AI safety for children, I think that touched my heart more than anything. And as I am adapting to technology, right? I've been using ChatGPT, cloud, and whatnot to increase my efficiency or creating content while I'm working on different product development. My daughter, understandably so, is emulating, right? I don't need to teach her. She's picking things on her own. She's giving commands to AI and interacting with it. So I wanted to ask you, sir, that is there proactive work already happening in that area? Or is that, you opening to start that? That's very highly critical and passionate area to understand. Thank you.
Yeah, no, there is work happening. France is involved in this as well, and hopefully it will be one of the major topics of discussion in the AI Action Summit that is happening in February in France. What is happening is, first we need to know who is a child and who is not, right? So in India, we are introducing age tokens, because all of us who are adults have a digital identity. So we can prove in a completely privacy-preserving way that I am a grown-up. But if a child doesn't have that benefit, so we assume that if you cannot prove you are an adult, you are a child. So this is not an opinion, this is a fact, right? Second is, if you know this is a child, we need to treat them differently. We need to make sure that their curation engine is, so what happens is, like, I've been away, let's say, from Twitter for an hour. In the meantime, 1 million tweets must have happened. I have time only to see 10, but which 10? Twitter chooses those for me. Now, if that curation engine has to be there, I should be able to choose that curation engine. It's a good problem to solve for all people, but in India, in our DPDP Act, we put in a condition that this is mandatory for children. So we are going to be the first country in the world which will require that the curation engine for children has to be chosen by the parents. And there has to be a choice of curation engines available. Luckily for us, one of our largest social media companies in India called Glance, some of you may know them, 200 million people based out of Bangalore, has already become part of the pilot. And there is a French company, I won't mention it because they have to talk about it at some point, which is also seriously thinking about being part of the pilot. So we call it Bring Your Own Curation Engine for Children, BYOCE for children, so that you as a parent can choose how that curation happens. And then, of course, we have to think about it for bias in AI models. And so there is a lot of work that is happening. We need to do pilots, we need to show that it works, and on the back of it, scale it as we go forward.
Can I also ask, and it's all coming from mothers out here.
Yes.
Sometimes we are really not the best guides. If we had to curate it for them, maybe you're not understanding them with the entire complexity. So is there an, vision that AI, we use it for an opportunity to positively channelize a child?
No, look, AI is good and bad, like every technology. I've been part of the UN AI body, which is trying to deal with the deficit. I represented India there. And that report has come out. I would encourage you to read it. So AI, of course, has opportunities. It can help our children be the best persons possible, but it also has problems. So we have to leverage the good, damp down the bad, and have to do this. And I have only one child, and she's much older than your daughter, but I'm deeply vested in this personally, along with others, simply for the reason that, that she pointed out.
Okay, so time is up. This has been a wonderful discussion, and I think that can continue further on while some of us can be made available in the tea break. So first of all, thank you everyone for your participation, for actively listening, contributing. And on behalf of iSPIRT Foundation, Credera, Renault Nissan Technologies, Lyra, and Thales as a technology partner who has also pioneered DigiYatra in India. Thank you to the APAC Forum for inviting us, and thank you very much for all of you for listening. We really appreciate it, and you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Merci beaucoup pour cette fascinante session. Merci pour cet exposé sur les nouvelles technologies de pointe. Et j'ai beaucoup aimé le fait de devoir intégrer un petit peu de philosophie à la technologie. C'est plutôt pas mal. Je vous demande, can you please stay on the stage because I'm going to call Payal Kanwar, directrice générale de l'IFCI, la Chambre de commerce franco-indienne, qui va vous remettre, comme les autres tables rondes, un souvenir de ce forum. Merci beaucoup.